Okay, the concept is exception handling. So what is this exception? First of all, we'll try to define what is an exception. Okay, exception is an abnormal condition. Exception is an abnormal condition that disturbs normal program control flow. Okay, what is that? It is an abnormal condition, or you can say runtime error. Okay, exception is an abnormal condition that disturbs your normal program control flow. Okay, the best way to understand is, see, either in the society or if you are in class, if there is someone abnormal person, what happens if you take class itself? Suppose a faculty is taking the class and there is an abnormal student who is behaving in an abnormal way. So what happens due to his abnormal behavior? The total class gets disturbed. Okay, so similar way, whenever a program is having any abnormal condition, then the program normal control flow will get disturbed. The program will not execute in a normal way. The program normal flow will be getting disturbed. So now, what is that we are going to do? What is this abnormal conditions are? I'll tell some examples and then we'll go how you are going to handle this. So now, what is this abnormal conditions? For example, I am dividing a number by 0. Okay, if I divide a number by 0, the value is infinity. So these are the examples for abnormal condition. So dividing a number by 0. Okay, then your program behaves in an abnormal way. You are getting an abnormal condition. So the second one is you are trying to access a file. Access means you are trying to get a file, do something on the file, but the file is not there. You are trying to access a file which does not exist. What happens? So these are the some of the abnormal conditions which occur in the program. Whenever this abnormal condition occurs, the normal program control flow gets disturbed. So now what is that you are going to do is exception handling mechanism. What is exception handling mechanism is? Exception handling mechanism is the steps taken to handle the exception or abnormal condition or runtime error. So now we discussed what is an exception. We discussed what is an abnormal condition. What happens due to that? Your program control flow is disturbed. So now what are the steps that you are going to take in order to handle that? That is called exception handling mechanism. The steps taken to handle an exception is called exception handling mechanism. What are the steps that you are going to take? The first and foremost step. These steps are common to any language. There are many languages which do exception handling. For example, if you go to C++, it does. Java, it does. Python, it does. JavaScript, it does. There are so many languages which do exception handling. But these steps, around 4 steps or 5 steps we are going to discuss. So these steps are common to these languages. But how these steps are implemented may vary, but the steps are same. The first one is identify the exception. First step is identify the exception or identify the abnormal condition. Identify the exception. See, whenever I want to handle the exception, whenever I want to handle the abnormal condition, first, what I have to do, first I need to identify. See, similarly, suppose I am only in the class and there is an abnormal student behaving in abnormal way, first and foremost thing what I should to do, I need to identify that student whoever is in the class. So that is the first step. If I don't identify, I cannot take any steps. So first thing what you do is identify the exception. Identify the exception. So after that, what is that we do is inform that an exception occurred. What is that we'll do? We are going to inform. We'll inform that, see, if you are informing, there will be someone to receive the error information or error information, we'll say. Okay, we are informing, there will be someone to receive it. The last step is handle the exception. handle the exception. Okay, these are the 4 basic steps which you will be using in order to do exception handling mechanism. So first thing is you have to identify the exception. Second is you have to inform that there is an exception. The third step is receive the error information, and the fourth step is handle the exception. So these are normal general terms in generalized way we have discussed. For this we have technical terms. So this is called identifying the exception, is technically called as hit the exception. Technical term is hit the exception. So inform means what is that you have to do is throw the exception. I'm telling the technical terms. The concept is same. So throw, if you are throwing means there some must be catch the exception. So the last one is handle the exception. Okay, these are the things. So identify the exception, inform that there is an abnormal condition and there is an exception, and third one is receive the error information, and the fourth one is handle the exception. See, handling means we don't do anything. We don't do anything rectifying that. See, what compiler is doing, what is that we are telling exception is a runtime error. What compiler is doing whenever a compile time error occurs, it says that so and so line semicolon is missing. It will just tell you and give you an information about the error. Similar way, we also just display an information about the exception that has occurred, about the runtime error that has occurred. Okay, so these are the things which we will be doing in order to perform an exception handling mechanism. So exception handling mechanism is the steps that you are going to take to handle the abnormal condition or to handle the exception. Okay, this is about exception handling. In the next class, we'll see how to do exception handling mechanism in Java. We'll see with a practical example. Is that right? You have any doubts, you can ask me. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. Any doubts you have, you can ask. Most probably, I'll try to end within 2 days, and afterwards, we'll discuss about the previous questions which they have given. Is it fine? Any doubts you have? Okay, see, from today onwards, I'll not be sharing any attendance link. So I have brought up a automated process where it will take automated attendance. This is what the attendance it has been taken. Okay, so it includes the time you came in also, what time you came in, everything will be there. Okay, okay. Some of you came at 11:50. Okay, see. I don't have anything in this. It is for your purpose only. I am conducting. It is for your benefit only. Is that right? So okay, it's left to you. Other thing is, good morning. So yesterday we started with exception handling. We discussed about what is an exception and what are the steps that are used for doing exception handling. So while we were discussing the features of Java, I told you that Java is a robust language. Java is a robust language. Robust means strongly built. Why it is strongly built is because of 2 reasons. One is automatic garbage collection. Second is automatic exception handling. So Java is going to do automatic exception handling. Java is going to do automatic exception handling. So you have predefined classes for every exception. Okay, exception means runtime error. So for every exception, we have a predefined class in Java. So now we'll see the class hierarchy of exceptions in Java. Class hierarchy of exceptions in Java. See, the super class for exceptions is throwable. Super class for exceptions is throwable. Okay, so here you have error is one class, then exception. So this is divided into runtime exception, and IO exception. IO exception. So in runtime exceptions, there are many classes. So one is here itself. I am telling almost all the classes. Arithmetic exception. Next, array index out of bounds exception. Okay. Similar way, you have many things. One is null pointer exception. Another one is number format exception. Another one is number format exception. You need not remember all the things. So the main thing is the superclass for all the exceptions is throwable. Throwable is the superclass for all the exceptions in Java. See, as I told you before, there is a class called object. Object is the supermost class in Java. Whatever classes we create or whatever classes already existing in Java, they are made as subclasses of object. So that's why simply we put this is the supermost class. So throwable is the superclass for exceptions, and we have exceptions and error. So error we don't bother, we are going to deal with exceptions. So exceptions, we have runtime exceptions. So runtime exceptions are the exceptions which arise during runtime. So in this we have, you remember these two things: arithmetic exception, array index out of bounds exception. Arithmetic exception, when it will occur, we'll see, and array index out of bound, when it occur, we'll be using these two exceptions. Other exceptions are like this. So IO exceptions means file not found. File is not there. File not found exception. Okay. So this is the class hierarchy. This is the class hierarchy of your Java. It is having a predefined class. So class means the first letters will be capital. Is that right? In the Camlin case. So now this is what your class hierarchy, exception class hierarchy. So now in this we are going to deal with runtime exceptions only. So runtime exceptions in Java are classified into two types. Runtime exceptions in Java are classified into two types. Runtime exceptions are classified into two types. One is checked exceptions. The second one is unchecked exceptions. Unchecked exceptions. What is checked exceptions means? Your Java runtime system, JRE or JRS, Java runtime environment or Java runtime system will check for programmer handlers. So we should have written some handlers to handle this exception. The Java runtime system is going to check for handlers that we have written. So such an exceptions are called checked exceptions. So unchecked exceptions, it does not check for programmer handlers. Most of the exceptions in Java are unchecked exceptions because already you have everything predefined. So these are the two types of classifications. One is checked and unchecked. So unchecked exceptions, the Java runtime system does not check for programmer handlers. Checked exceptions means it is going to check for the programmer handlers. See, in detail we'll see, you need not worry about it. How we are going to handle the exceptions, we are going to see. Okay, so yesterday we have seen the 4 steps that you are going to do in order to handle a exception. So as I told you before, the 4 steps are common to any language. Whatever language it is, the 4 steps are common. So what is going to change is, what are the keywords that the language is going to use in order to do those 4 tasks is going to change. What are the keywords? The language is going to use to handle those, to perform those 4 tasks is going to vary. So now Java uses these keywords: try, catch, throw, throws, finally. So total 5 keywords. So Java uses this 5 keywords to perform exception handling. Java uses this 5 keywords to perform exception handling. Try, catch, throw, throws, finally. Is that right? So now we'll discuss each and every keyword separately. So now the first one is try keyword, or we'll call it as try block. Try block. Okay. So try block is defined with the keyword try, and you write the statements here. Statements which may generate exception. Statements which may generate exception. So this is the syntax of your try block. This is the syntax of your try block. Try is the keyword. Inside of this, you have to put the statements which may generate exception. May is important. See, the statements which may generate exception, we have to put inside of the try block. Sometimes they may not generate exception, but if there is even a 1 or 0.5% possibility that a statement is going to generate exception, you should put inside of the try block. So suppose there is a statement which does not generate any error, you are putting inside of the try block, no issue. You will not get any problem. But if there is a statement which is going to generate error, you are not putting into try block, then that is a issue. So whenever you feel that this statement, there is a possibility of 0.1% also that this statement is going to generate an exception, you have to put it inside of the try block. Okay, so try block is the place where an exception is born. An exception is born inside of the try block. An exception will an exception is generated inside of the try block. So try block is also called as exception generator. Inside of the try block only you are going to get an exception. Is that right? So that is try block. Is that right? So there is one rule for try block, that is every try block must be preceded. Every try block must be preceded immediately with catch block or finally block. What is that? Immediately after the ending of your try block, you should start a catch block or finally block, compulsory. If you are not doing that, it is going to generate an error. After the end of try block and beginning of your catch block or finally block, you should not have even a single statement. Your try block is ending, immediately your catch block has to start, or your finally block has to start. You should not give a statement in between of these two. So that is the rule for try block. So now we'll go to the second one, catch block. Catch block. So catch block is called as exception handler. So here exception, class name, object. Okay. Statements to handle exception. So this is the syntax of your catch block. So now here exception class is the predefined classes in Java. For each and every exception, you have a predefined class in Java. For each and every exception, you have a predefined class in Java. So that class you have to specify here, object name. So now whenever a exception is generated, the control is transferred from try block to catch block automatically. So this is called automatic exception handling. You need not transfer a control from try block to catch block when there is an exception. Immediately the control will be transferred from try block to catch block if there is an exception. If there is an exception, automatically control will be transferred from try block to catch block. So now the exception generated class name and this class name, it is going to match. If both are matching, the statements within this catch block will be executed and you will get the output. So in this, you have to write those statements which you want to do whenever there is an exception. Whenever there is an exception, what is that you want to do? You have to write here. Whenever there is an exception, what is that you want to do? You have to put here. Is that right? So now this is about, as I told you, try block, immediately you have to start your catch block. So now this exception classes we'll see. So one such exception class is arithmetic exception. One such class is, already we have seen in the diagram, arithmetic exception. What is its purpose is, it is generated, this exception is generated when you divide a number by 0. When you divide a number by 0, this exception is generated. Similarly, array index out of bounds exception. Okay, so you are accessing an array index which does not exist. Array index does not exist. For example, size is 3. I am accessing the 4th element. Then I'll get array index out of bound. So array index always starts with 0. I am trying to access -1. So whenever you exceed the bounds of the array means 0 to the size that you have specified. If I go below 0 or if I exceed the size, then you'll get array index out of bounds exception. So these are the two common exceptions which we will be using and we'll be doing. Other than this, null pointer exception where you will be referring a location which does not exist. Is that right? So these are the try and catch block. We'll see an example of handling an exception by using try and catch block. How you are going to handle an exception by using try and catch block. Is that right? So practically I'll show you the demo. So now what I do is I'm reading two numbers. For example, I'm reading two numbers. So I read two numbers. A is equal to sc dot next int, and int b is equal to sc dot next int. I am reading the second number. Okay, so my intention is I want to find c is equal to a by a minus b. Okay, so and I want to print the value system dot out dot println. So c is equal to I want to print the value press c. Okay, so now the question is, in case if I enter both a and b values as same, so this statement may generate exception. So what I do is I put it in the try block. What I do, I'll put it in the try block. So this statements, I'll put it in the try block. So exception, what type of exception is? It is arithmetic exception. Arithmetic exception. So I'll just print a message system dot out dot println e. Okay. So now you can see. So I'm reading two numbers a and b. I'm finding c is equal to a by a minus b. In case both a and b values are same. If both a and b values are same, so now what happens? Okay. Okay, I'm entering a value. Suppose 4, 2. Okay, I run the program. Okay, I did not include the package. So import java dot util dot star. Now I run the program. So I gave values 4 and 2, so I get c is equal to -1. Okay. So now the thing is, I got the value because I gave different values for a and b. Okay. So now suppose if I give the same values for a and b, Okay. Oh, I think something is happening here. This thing should take place first. Give a brace. So now when I do a minus b, it is arithmetic java dot lang dot arithmetic exception. divide by 0. Okay, I hope you are able to see this. Is that right? I got a message, java.lang.arithmetic exception. Is that right? Okay, so now you see here, for me, this statement only generates exception. But if I put all these statements inside of try block also, no issue. Even if I put all these statements inside of the try block, no issue. But if I put this statement outside of the try block, it is not suggestible. Okay, those statements which may generate exception, you should put inside of the try block. Okay, so now one more question here. See, what is that I am doing? What is E here? What is E here? E is an object. I am printing an object. Yes or no? System.out.println. I am printing object, E object. So now, how I am getting this string message? Can you tell? Can any one of you tell the answer? See, what is that I am doing? Yes, I am printing the object. So how is that I am getting this output? Java.lang.arithmetic exception. What is happening there? Any answers? Any answers? Or shall I move on? Okay, I'll tell you. See, whenever in a system.out.println, you are giving some object. Whenever you are printing an object in a println statement, Java will automatically call a method called toString. This we already discussed. toString. So this toString method will convert this object into string description. What is the output that you are getting? You are getting a string description, java.lang.arithmetic exception. How you are getting such a type of description for an object? Because your Java is going to call the toString method, which gives the string description of this object. So Java already knows this object that it is arithmetic exception class object. Arithmetic exception class object. Arithmetic exception class is a class which is already existing in Java. Java knows about it. That's why it gives the message java.lang.arithmetic exception. Is that right? So this point you remember, it is very useful when you are dealing with user-defined exceptions. User-defined exceptions. Is that fine? So whenever you print an object in the println statement, automatically toString method will be called. So automatically toString method will be called. Is that fine? So now we'll go with the next one. So that is multiple catch blocks. Multiple catch blocks. You can have multiple catch blocks. So what I do is I have one try block and I have catch block 1. So here I'll write exception 1. Is that right? Here I'll write exception 2. Exception 2. Okay, like this you can write multiple catch blocks. When it is needed is whenever your try block, there is a chance of generating multiple exceptions. Whenever there is a chance that your try block is going to generate more than one exception, then you can put multiple catch blocks. How it is going to work is similar to your if else. So now whenever an exception is generated, it will check the exception type with this one. If the exception generated here and this one both are matching, this block will be executed and this will not be executed. So now if this is not matching, it goes to this one and is going to compare. Is that right? So multiple catch block is used for handling multiple exceptions. Multiple catch block is used for handling multiple exceptions. So that's what we are going to use here. So I'll show you the demo. See, the same example I'll take. So now in this program, we are using this. So suppose I use an array here. Int x is equal to array I am initializing 1, 2, 3. Okay. Maximum size of the array is 3. So now what I do is system dot out dot println x of 4. I'm trying to access the fourth element. For our convenience sake, all these things I'll put outside. You put inside also, no issues. Okay. So only those statements which are generating exception I'm putting inside of try block. Okay. So now this is one class. So now what I do is this is one exception. So now I'll put here another one. So another one is what type of exception? Array index out of bounds exception. Array index out of bounds exception AE. So single try block, I defined multiple catch blocks. This is catch block 1, this is catch block 2. Okay, so here there is a chance of getting 2 exceptions. So if A and B are equal, this will generate an exception, this one. So at one time, one only will be executed. If you run this, since already I gave the values for A and B as equal, I'll get this one. I gave A and B as equal. So now I'll change it. I will give different values. So now I'll give different values. I'll get the value of C. I'll get the value of C, but I'll get java.lang dot array index out of bounds exception 4. Okay, I'm trying to access fourth location. If I put -1, array index starts with 0, but I'm trying to access -1 element. I'll get array index out of bound -1. So like this, your try block can have multiple catch blocks. Your try block can have multiple catch blocks. So when this is needed is whenever your try block, the statements in your try block, there is a chance of generating more than one exception. There is a chance of generating more than one exception. Then you will be putting in try. Then you will be putting in the multiple catch blocks. I hope it is fine. Okay. So now similar way you can have. I'll just tell the example for this. We'll not see the example. So nested try catch block. Okay, you can have nested try catch block. Okay. Similarly, this is also used for multiple exception handling. So this is catch exception. Suppose 2. Inside of the try block, again I'll put one more try and catch block. So here I'll put exception 1. Exception 1. Inside of the try block, again I put some try and catch block. Inside of the try block, again I put some try and catch block. So that is called a nested try catch block. So we are not going to see any example in this. We are not going to see any example in this. Yes, sir, we want to specify the exception type, whether the compiler don't know the type of exception. No, we are not specifying the type. Type in the sense, we are specifying what type of class it is. It will automatically match the exceptions. Matching will be done automatically, but it is our responsibility that we have to write these things. Is that right? So it is our thing that we have to specify the type of the class. See, if you don't know the class, another blind one is you can specify the super class. So what is the super class for exceptions? Exception E, normal exception. We have seen the class hierarchy, throwable. So otherwise I'll show here. See, if I don't know what type of exception it is, okay, I'll remove this. I'll go with single exception only. Okay, I don't. Otherwise, both also you can go. No issues. Say I don't know what type of exception. Exception is the super class in Java. Exception is the super class in Java. If you run it, it will handle all the exceptions because it is the super class. It works. Is that right? Suppose I give the values both as same. Both as same. It will work for both the things because exception is the super class in Java. It will work for both the things. If you don't know what type of exception is going to be generated, blindly you can put this. It will work for all the exceptions. Okay. I hope it is fine. You can I hope it is fine. Is that right? So that is about nested try and catch. Is that right? So the next one is, next keyword is throw keyword. Throw keyword. Okay. So throw keyword is used to transfer the control from try block to catch block. Okay. Type throw keyword is used for transferring the control from try block to catch block. See, normally what is happening whenever we are using normal this thing, automatically the control will be transferred from try block to catch block. Automatically the control will be transferred from try block to catch block. We need not transfer because Java is doing automatic exception handling. We need not transfer the control from try block to catch block, but you can do it explicitly if you want. You can do it explicitly if you want by using the throw keyword. You can do it explicitly if you want by using throw keyword. So by using throw keyword, you can explicitly transfer the control. It is mainly useful when you are dealing with user-defined exceptions. User-defined exceptions. It is mainly useful whenever you are using user-defined exceptions. Is that right? See, what is user-defined exceptions? We are going to see. We can create our own exceptions in Java. How it is that we are going to see later. So in that case, throw keyword is very useful. But normally throw is not needed. Automatically the control will be transferred. So, but the syntax of throw is like this: throw. So object of exception class. You have to specify. Okay, this you have to write inside of the try block. This you have to write inside of the try block. Automatically control will be transferred to catch block. See, whenever you are using throw, you should not perform the operation. Whenever you are using throw, you should not perform the operation. You should not perform the operation. You should not perform the operation. Automatically, if you are performing the operation, automatically the control will go. Okay, I'll show the demo here. See. So I'll remove all this. I'll deal with only one exception. Is that right? So now what is that is, if I do C is equal to A by A minus B, then the automatic exception handling will work. So what I do is, I will check if A is equal to B. If A is equal to B, what I do is I throw. So throw means, what is that we said? You need to throw the object. So what is that we are doing? Arithmetic exception. Okay, you can create object and throw, or I can just write the constructor itself. That is sufficient. If you want, you can create an arithmetic exception class object and you can throw it, or you can just create a constructor like this by using new. Okay. So whenever you are using throw keyword, you have to check the condition for exception. What is the condition due to which exception arises? If you are not checking the condition, automatic exception handling will come into picture. So now we see here, it is working. Java.lang.arithmetic exception. Is that fine? So we don't perform the operation. Whenever you are using throw keyword, remember, whenever you are using throw keyword, we don't perform the operation. We check the condition for exception. What is the condition for exception? If the condition for exception is satisfied, we throw. Otherwise, we perform the operation. If it is automatic, means we don't check the condition, we perform the operation. If there is no exception condition, the operation will get executed successfully. If there is an exception, automatically it will generate the exception class message. Is that right? So that is the purpose of throw keyword. Throw keyword. Is that fine? We'll go with the next one. Next keyword is throws keyword. Throws. Yes. Okay. So throws keyword is used for or used with method definitions. Is used with method definitions. Method definitions. Okay. Don't get confused with throw and throws. So throws is used with method definitions. Throw is used as a single statement, but throws is used with method definition. Method use you need to use besides the method definition. Is that right? What is the purpose of throws? Is it is an alternative for try and catch block. Try and catch block. Instead of using try and catch block, just I can use throws keyword. My exception gets handled. How is the syntax is like this? So your method definition. Access specifier, how you'll write the method? Access specifier, return type, method name, argument list. After this, you have to write throws exception class name. This you have to write at the method definition. So now here you need not use any try and catch block. Whatever exceptions are generated here, automatically they will be handled by your Java runtime system. So throws is an alternative for try and catch block. Without using try and catch block, just using the throws keyword, you can handle the exceptions. I'll show you an example. See here. So now I'll remove all these things. I'll remove even catch block also. I'll remove try also. Is that fine? I'm directly performing the operations. I hope it is visible to you. So now what I do is, this is the method definition. This is the main method in which the error is going to be generated. So after main definition. So here I have to write throws exception class name. What is that? Arithmetic exception. So now if I run it, it will handle automatically. Compilation error, braces are wrong. Okay. So now this also will work for me. We can see it. Okay. Is it right? This works for me. I don't get any issues. If I give the correct values, if I give different values, I'll get the input. Okay. So normally other programs, what happens is, if whenever you get a runtime error, your program is going to function abnormally. That's what we discussed yesterday. Abnormally means sometimes it may get hanged, sometimes it may get hanged, or it is going to behave in a different way. But here it does not take place. So throws is an alternative for your try and catch block. Okay. So we'll come to the last keyword, that is finally keyword. Okay. So finally is called as an optional block. What is that? It is an optional block. Your try block is a exception generator. Catch block is exception handler. Finally block is an optional block. What is this optional block is? So those statements which are independent of exception, you have to put in the finally block. Those statements which does not depend upon finally block, which does not depend upon your exception, you have to put inside of the finally block. For example, I am reading the contents of a file. I opened the file, I am reading the contents. I got an exception. Okay, so even then I have to close the file. Yes or no? If I don't close the file will go to inconsistent state. So now the second case, this is the first one. Second case is, I opened the file, I am reading the file, I did not get any error. My process executed successfully. Even then I need to close the error. Okay, so such events which are independent of exception. Except if exception comes also, you have to do that task. If exception does not come also, you have to do the task. Such tasks we'll put it in the finally block. Okay, and finally block is a block which is executed at the last ending point of your program, at the last. That's why we'll call it as finally. So it is executed at the final point of termination of your program. So at the final point, your finally block will be executed. As I told you before, your try block can have at least a catch block, or you can have finally block. Okay, the syntax is like this. Finally block syntax is like this. Finally. Okay, this is the syntax for the final block. So you have to write the statements which are independent of exception. Statements which are independent of exception. So that you can put it inside of the finally block. So these statements will be executed if there is an exception, and these statements will be executed if there is no exception. Okay, so we'll see an example of the same thing. So now you go here. So now you go here. I'll put a try catch block as usual previously. I'll put a try catch block here. Okay. Inside of the finally block, I'll just put a message, finally block executed. Is that right? So those statements which are generating exception, I have a try block, I have a catch block, I have a finally block. Okay, I'll remove this rows. It is not needed. If you keep also, nothing problem, no error. Now I'll put it. I'm running it. You can see no error, but my finally block executed. No error because input values I gave two different values. Now I'll give same values. Okay, now I execute it. Now I execute it. Okay, so exception came, then also my finally block executed. Previously, when there was no exception, then also my finally block got executed. So it will execute even if there is an exception, and it will execute even if there is no exception. Is that right? Even if you are having multiple catch blocks, your try block is having multiple catch blocks. Your try block is having a matching catch block, then also finally will be executed. Your try block is not having a matching catch block, then also finally will be executed. In other words, you can understand that finally is a block which will be executed always. If there is an exception also, finally block will be executed. If there is no exception also, finally block will be executed. So these are the 5 keywords which are used in Java to perform exception handling. Is that right? We'll discuss about the last one, that is user-defined exceptions. User-defined exceptions. User-defined exceptions. Okay, so Java is having many classes, predefined classes for each and every exceptions. For each and every exceptions, Java is having predefined classes. They are sufficient. Even then, Java allows the user to define your own exceptions. You can define your own exceptions. So for that, what is that you have to do is you need to follow this step. So first one is create a class as a subclass of exception or throwable. Okay, what is the first step? So now what is that I am doing? I am creating a new exception class as per my requirements. For example, we'll see the example. Suppose user is entering a negative account number. I want to generate an exception. User is entering negative account number. By mistake, by his entering, he pressed first minus. So now, then I need to generate an exception. So what is that I'll do? I'm going to create my own class because such class is not defined in Java. So now what I do is, so in order to make my class as an exception class, I should make it as a subclass of exception or throwable. How to make subclass? Just extends keyword. You have to use extends. So some class XYZ extends either exception or throwable. That's what you have to do. See, why we are using these two things is because these are the super classes for exceptions in Java. That is the first step. The second step is override toString method. Override toString method. Why we are overriding toString method is whenever we are printing the object. See how we did with predefined exceptions, the same process we'll be doing. We'll print the object of the class that we are creating here. So now what happens is, whenever you are printing, Java does not know about the class that you have created. It does not have the string description for your class. You have to give the string description. That's why we will override. Override means it is already there in the derived class. You are writing your own version. Your object will be created for derived class. So which method will execute? Your method will execute. The base class method, which is already existing in Java, will not be executed. So that is why we override toString method. Is that right? The third one is throw the exception. Throw the exception using throws keyword. Is that right? So throw syntax as usual. Throw is compulsory here. Without throw, you cannot handle user-defined exceptions because Java does not do automatic here. Java does not know this type of exception because you are newly creating. It is created by user. Java does not have any knowledge about this. Java does not know that this is a negative value. I should generate exception. So what is that you have to do? You have to throw the exception. Throw new. What is the class name that you have created in step 1? Class name of the class that you have created in step 1. This is what you have to do. Okay, so these are the 3 steps you have to do. First, you have to create a class as a subclass of exception or throwable. And second, what is that you have to do is you have to override the toString method where you will be providing the string description of the exception generated. The third one is you have to throw the exception. Okay, so we'll practically see one example, that is, see, user is entering a negative account number and I want to generate an exception. What is that? So negative account number is entered by a user. Okay, bank account number I am taking by mistake. The user is entering a negative account number. Whatever values I don't bother, but it is a negative value. So now what happens? I need to generate an exception. How to do it? We'll see with an example. I'll show you practically. Okay, so come here. First I'll create a class. Okay, suppose negative account number. Exception, everything I am using. Exception, extends, whatever name you want, you can use. You can write exception or throwable. What is that you have to do? So this is my step 1. This is my step 1. Okay, now what I do is public string toString method. Okay, so toString method 1, which is going to return the string description. You have to return the string description. What is that I'll do is I'll write some string s1 is equal to, you have to write as some description about the exception. What is that I'll say? So some message I'm putting caught by negative account number exception. Same message I'm putting here. Is that fine? So this message I am returning. So I'm storing in S1, so return S1. Is that right? So here I'll read only one number, which is account number. Okay. So what I do is here I have to check the condition. If account number is less than 0, I have to generate exception. What is that I'll do? Throw new the class name. What is the class name that we have created? Negative account number exception. So that I'll put here. Is that fine? Same thing we have to give here. No need of any finally block. Is that fine? I hope you understood. Okay. So if this is not the case, else case, I'll display the account number. Or you can put a valid account number or something else part. Okay. So now you can see. So this is my first step. So this is my step 2, and this is my step 3. Okay. First, what I'm doing is I'm creating a class as a subclass of extends exception. I think I gave a spelling wrong. Exception, or you can write throwable, anything is fine. That is my first step. Second step, toString method I have to override. toString method will return a string. So string, which is the description for the object. So this is the description that I have given. Caught by negative account number exception. Okay. So now I'll run it. I'll change my input values. I'll change my input values. Suppose 2789 something I gave, it is a positive number, so I should not get any exception. Okay, so number is displayed. So now I modify it. I put a minus at the beginning. I run it. Okay, so caught by negative account number exception. Caught by negative account number exception. See, whatever description you are giving here. So whenever I am printing E, automatically the control goes to this one. Automatically the control goes to toString method. And this method will return this one. The same thing will be printed here. Is that right? The same thing will be printed here. So that's why I'm getting this message here. Okay, caught by negative account number exception. Okay, I hope this is fine. So this is about user defined exceptions. So in case of user defined exceptions, throw keyword is compulsory. Throw keyword is compulsory. Without using throw keyword, you cannot handle user defined exceptions. User defined exceptions. So that is about exceptions. If you have any doubts, you can ask. If you have any doubts, you can ask. Any doubts? That's about exceptions. Actually, the next topic is tomorrow we'll discuss about these things. What is that? 2 topics. Tomorrow I will end it. And Saturday, no one, please don't miss the class on Saturday. We'll take Wipro PPT and we'll discuss about all the previous questions, whatever they have asked. Okay. So tomorrow I'll be discussing about IO streams and annotations. These 2 topics tomorrow I'll finish. I'll finish as quickly as possible, and tomorrow itself possible we'll start with some of the previous questions which they have asked. Okay, so don't miss tomorrow and after tomorrow's class. Annotations is a concept which you cannot understand easily. Okay, so that's why don't miss tomorrow's class. By tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, we'll wind up everything, and we'll see that we are on the safer zone, and we'll try to implement some of the things which will be needed for you to implement these things. Okay, sir, in user defined, if we use exception E in the catch, what happens instead of number, negative number exception? Instead of, what is that? If we use exception E, okay, it won't work because it does not know. Okay, you can see. Otherwise, subclass, no, it may work. We'll check it. Otherwise, we'll check it. It is a subclass, no, it may work. We'll see. Good question. We'll see. Okay, it's working because we made it as a subclass of exception. No issues. It will work. Okay, in multiple catch block, why doesn't it print all the exceptions? Only gets printed this thing. Okay, so Janani. Okay, so the thing is, it works similar to your if-else block. If-else block. Only one catch block will be executed at one point of time. Multiple catch blocks will not be executed. Multiple catch blocks at one point of time will not be executed. Okay, it works similar to if-else block. So if you take if-else block, if is executed,